Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CSC Sports Preview. I'm Ethan Stray, the student broadcaster for CSC Live. We haven't talked in quite some time, so we have quite the list of things to cover for CSC athletics. The CSC women's basketball team had a great start to the new year, but ran into some struggles after the first of the year and have really been working through some challenges since then. For the men's program, they've been making a push for the playoffs, and we will debunk the potential outcomes for the ending of the regular season. Now, the men's wrestling team, they continue to oust the competition and secure some major victories throughout their dual season. Mason Watt has definitely been one of those to propel the Eagles in their duels this season. Then we'll check in on the hard work of the women's wrestling program as well. This all coming your way on the CSC Sports Preview. The Eagle women's basketball team opened up the new year with some fireworks as they traveled on the road to face off against the challenging MSU Denver Roadrunners. The Eagles flexed their muscles to start off the ballgame with 2 quarters of solid play, scoring 16 points in each of the 2 opening quarters. The teams would exchange punches back and forth early, and Chadron State would find themselves with a 32-29 lead going into the halftime break. Now, after the pause in the action, the Eagles exploded on offense, jumping out to their largest scoring quarter of the season, with 32 points alone being scored in the third quarter. That tied their points from the first half of the contest, again 16 points in the opening 2 quarters. Now, Chadron closed the contest, outscoring the opponents 46-34. That includes that quarter number 3 that the Eagles came out red hot and made the final score 78-63 over the Roadrunners in Denver. Chadron State was led by one of the new faces this season in Kylie Christ, the junior forward for CSC. Christ had 23 points in the ballgame, went 7 for 8 in the contest with her makes beyond the arc, which is absolutely incredible. An incredible performance by Christ. Christ played for almost only half of the contest, too, which makes it even more mesmerizing. To be exact, 23 total minutes of play, but MSU Denver just could not come up with that answer to slow her down on offense. She was just on fire, making basket after basket. This was the strongest performance by CSC all season up to this point. Eagles overall as a team shot 58.5% from the field and 50% beyond 3-point range. Before we move on, I sat down with Kylie Christ to talk about her outstanding performance and what this win meant for the team as they move on in the season. Kylie, first and foremost, thank you for braving the elements and joining me today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, you're one of the new Eagles on the team this season. What has your experience been like with CSC, both on and off the court?
I love CSC. The community is great. The crowd is great for basketball games, and the team is really good. I love the chemistry we have, and I'm fitting in really well at CSC.
Kylie, you joined the Eagles from another RMAC school in the form of Western Colorado. What interested you in changing things up and joining the Eagles? And tell us a bit more about the region in which you grew up in.
So I just don't think Western Colorado was the right fit for me. The program wasn't for me. So I think when I came on the visit with CSC, the team was really great, and I loved them from the start, and I knew that this was going to be my next place. So yeah, and the RMAC is a tough conference. You really winning on the road is really hard, but winning in general is really hard with this league. We're all really good, so.
Yeah. Most recently on the court, the team took on MSU Denver on the road in Denver back on January 6th, folks. How big was this win on the road for the team, and do you feel it has potential to fuel this second half of the season?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The win was huge. I think it boosted our confidence level by 10 because we were practicing so hard. Our competition in practice is great, and I think we can really go really far this season with how much we've accomplished so far. So.
And to add on, this was the first win back in Denver since, I believe, 2001, when I heard from Dave Collins on Double Q Country. The team has defeated Roadrunners at home, and it's always challenging on the road against some RMAC opponents. What is one of the most challenging teams you've faced on the road so far?
I think I don't know. On the road, I'd have to say Pueblo. They were pretty good. They're huge. They're really athletic. But we had a close game with them. I think we lost by 10, I believe.
Somewhere
but
close
it was
around
yeah,
there,
it was
yeah.
a pretty close game, and I think we can. The next time we play them, I think it should be a really good game. So.
Kylie Christ joining me here on CSC Live. In the game against Metro, you had a really good game, going 7 for 8 beyond the arc. What was your key to success in this game?
I guess I was just locked in the zone. My team did a really good job of finding me when I was hot, and I think actually the team did really well together. I think that's the best we've played as a team so far, and we always came together and said really encouraging things, and it was just such a great environment to be in.
And I was looking back at the record book for CSC, and you were only 1 3-point make away from tying the record that was set back in 1990, the 1991 season by Tricia Lukowski. Quite an accomplishment to be able to drain that many and kind of be on a hot streak. Have you had any other games like that you've kind of gone on a hot streak like that?
Not necessarily. It's like 3 or 4, but not as big as 7. So it was really exciting, and the adrenaline was insane that game. So yeah.
Now moving on to the team's goals this season and personal goals, have any of them been achieved as of yet? And if not, what are you or the team doing to make these goals a reality?
I think our goal is to make the tournament, the RMAC tournament, and I think with the way we're practicing right now, like we are doing so well. We're competing, and then we still come together after practice, and we're still like great teammates, and we're just so close. And I think the chemistry on the basketball team is just amazing. So I think our goal, we can accomplish that goal for sure.
And on the topic of personal goals, did you have any personal goals for the season?
Not any personal. I just think that making the RMAC tournament is my biggest goal for sure, but I know it's also our team's biggest goal.
And now, in closing here, what would you say are the keys to the games coming up against both Mesa and Westminster at home? I know Mesa is a really strong team, 11-2, and then you have Westminster, who's been on a bit of a skid as of late, 2 for 11 with their record. What would you say the keys are to those games?
I think just confidence and just calming down. I know that we can do so well, and we're playing we were playing so good as a team. I just think we need to have that confidence every game. I know that Mesa is really good, but we can't go in timid. We just have to say, you know what, we can do this, and we just need to come together and do it together. So
perfect. Well, thank you for joining us, Kylie, and best of luck against Mesa and Westminster.
Thank you.
After the win against Metro, CSC had a bit of a struggle to hold on to that great momentum they opened up the second half of the season with. The Eagles would face Colorado Mesa at home, who entered with a strong record of 11-3 on the season, 5-2 in conference play. Mesa is a fast-paced scoring offense that would challenge the Chadron State defense to get a handle of that offense before the scoring runs got out of hand. So the first 2 quarters of play showed a great defensive stand by both teams, as at the end of quarter number 1, it was just a 13-12 ball game in favor of Mesa. The scoring would pick up a bit in the second quarter rather, with CSC outscoring Mesa 20-17 in quarter number 2 and gathering a 32-30 lead at the half, so getting some of that momentum back that they lost in the early going. Now then, to start the third quarter, Mesa did exactly what Chadron State was able to do against Metro and just picked apart the Eagle defense to amount to a total of 30 points in the third quarter. The offensive approach on the side of the ball for Chadron was unsuccessful and really fell to the defensive might of the Mavericks, as CSC would only collect 17 points in the final half of play at home. Chadron would fall to the Mavericks 70-49 for the first home game of the 2024 part of the season. The leader for the Eagle offense was Shayla Powers, as she would finish right around her season game average for about 13 points in this one, 5 of which came from the free throw line. And as a team, CSC, their shooting percentage dropped in this one from their game against Metro, 35% from the field to be exact for CSC. They were really good beyond the three-point arc. 54.5% from three-point range was Chadron State, but they struggled keeping possession of the ball with a total of 17 turnovers. So the turnover bug kind of rears its ugly head in this one, and just a little bit of turnovers, and that kind of allowed that Mesa offense to really gather their footing in that second half of play and run away with the ball game 70-49. From there, the Eagles would face the Westminster Griffins after their loss to Colorado Mesa, and this game went just as much as anyone would expect. The opening presented a close back-and-forth battle, as the Eagles have had many of those throughout the season, finding a 36-32 margin of lead ending play in the first two frames of the contest. Opening the final two frames of play, the Eagles would regather a small 2-point advantage, 50-48, entering the last quarter of action. And as the back and forth battle kind of unfolded, the clock winding down fast for both teams, it came down to who could handle the ball better on their final offensive possessions. So for CSC, they would be victorious as they found Liberty Line for a quick two, a nice layup as time expired. Buzzer went off, and the Eagles celebrated the victory. This was one of the many buzzer beaters on the weekend for both basketball programs. We'll touch on the men's program to follow after the women's in just a little bit. So overall, Player of the Game award goes to Liberty Line, while the leaders for Chadron State, that remained in the hands of Shayla Powers. Now, Powers in this one would collect 20 points with 8 field goal makes and 4 connections from the charity stripe. And Chadron, as a team, would cool off a bit with their sharpshooting efforts in this one, as the three-point shooting percentage dropped somewhere around the 18.8% range. But their shooting from the field remained pretty consistent from their two ball games we have previously mentioned thus far, right around the 39% range from the field for Chadron's offense. Turnovers still plagued the Eagles in this one, and potentially without the turnovers, the Eagles could have had a larger lead and maintained it to win by a larger margin. But again, the Eagles able to pull this one out 62-61 over the Westminster Griffins at home. After the games at home, the Eagles would hit the road once again. This was the longest and most challenging road trip of the season that the Eagles would go on. First up, they would face Fort Lewis. Another factor adding to this challenge on the weekend, where some key players were out for the first game of the weekend set. Megan Counts and Allison Olsen out with illnesses and unable to compete in the ball game. And then, to make matters even worse, another unfortunate situation unfolded for CSC as early in the second quarter, the Eagles' star in Shayla Powers would go down with an injury sustained to her left wrist and was unable to return to action in the ball game. CSC would fall in this one 71-58 in the contest and lose to the Skyhawks on the road. Shooting percentage stats settled right around the same range as we have mentioned in the previous couple of matchups. Chadron State would have to forfeit their next competition, which was against Adams State due to player safety as cited by head coach Travis Brewster. It was officially recorded as a 2-0 loss, and the stats for the game do not count as the game was not deemed as official at the time of the forfeit. Welcome back to the CSC Sports Preview Show with your host Ethan Stray, the student commentator for CSC Live. We just recapped the women's basketball games and their action in the new year, and now we move ahead to the men's basketball program as they venture towards postseason play. The CSC men's basketball program unfortunately didn't open up the second half of the season the way that they had wished. First, let's talk about the game on the road on January 6th. That was against the MSU Denver Roadrunners. For the Eagles, it would be a struggle to maintain a consistent flow on offense. They were only able to score 30 points and 33 points in the closing half. Would make the final score in this one 63-84, so a double-digit loss for the Eagles to open up the new year. Latimer and Robinson were the two that ran the offense for CSC in the game. 17 points by Latimer and 15 for Josh Robinson. Team overall shot 36.4% from the field, and in the ballgame, while MSU Denver saw the success of 50.7% from the field to down the Eagles. Again, the final score in that one, 84-63 over Chadron State. The Eagles continued RMAC competition at home against the Mavericks, and man, was this one a thriller for the weekend. Even though it didn't end how Chadron fans would have liked, it will certainly stick in our minds as it was one of those key games to the season up to this point, and the Eagles continue to move towards that postseason play potential, whether that be hosting or not. Again, in the RMAC conference, seeds 1 through 8 in the conference get to participate in that postseason play. Before we recap play, let's take a look at the two teams' records in this one, as the two teams present a high caliber of play. For Colorado Mesa, they're one of the top seeds in the conference right now. They sported a 11-2 record, 7-0 in conference play, so perfect in RMAC action. While entering the game, CSC held an 8-5 record, 5-2 in conference play, so holding a really good position, not that far behind Colorado Mesa, so they work hard. They can keep that seeding between seeds 1 through 4 in the conference. To get the ball rolling, Mesa jumped out to a quick 16-point lead within the first 10 minutes of play and would lead 29-13 over the hometown Eagles. This separation came courtesy of 11 3-point makes, while Chadron just really struggled on connecting on baskets even from the paint. They went 5 for 15 from the field in the opening 10 minutes. Now, the closing seconds of the half were very eventful for CSC, and many in the building, including myself, were shocked at the quick 2 trays that the Chadron offense would be able to put up before the buzzer would sound. Dalton Pearson would be the first to hit a 3-pointer, and that was with 7 seconds left in the first half, and then Robinson raced against the buzzer as it was a timely turnover by the Mavericks, and he was able to beat the buzzer on a 3 from about 5 or 6 feet beyond the arc, so a good distance away, was able to connect on the basket, and made the halftime score 45-42 in favor of Mesa, so only a 1-possession ball game for Mesa at the half, and it's really good considering they are nationally ranked as well. The second half would feature much of the same storyline in this one, and what would you know? Another buzzer beater to send the game to overtime against the 11th nationally ranked Mavericks, so almost a top 10 team in Division II, and the Eagles playing right on par, right behind them. Overtime came really quickly on the Eagles, and much like the start of the game, Mesa's offense just really kick-started that engine, fired it up, and just went into overdrive and would secure the 102-95 victory over Chadron in just one overtime period. Again, overtime being 5 minutes in college action. The game leaders for Chadron State, this one was Bryce Latimer, who again had a stellar performance per usual with 30 total points and 12 free throw makes. Latimer played a substantial amount of time in the contest and really gave it his all as he played 41 minutes in total in this one. As a team, the Eagles shot 46% from the field and looked pretty solid beyond the arc as well and at the free throw line. I caught up with Coach Pavin before the weekend set against Mesa and the Westminster Griffins. Here's what he had to say. Coach, the team sits with an 8-5 record overall and 5-2 in conference play. What are your goals for the team entering the second half of the season?
Right now, we're in a big stretch. Obviously, the goal for us is to compete for an RMAC championship. But we're in a tough stretch. We're lost a tough one, coming back after Christmas to Metro on the road. We got to play a top 15 team in the country this Friday night with a Mesa. And then we have to get on the road, take a tough road trip, go into a top 10 team, I believe, with Fort Lewis, and then playing Adams on the road. And, Mesa's not just going to come down. I mean, not Mesa. Westminster's not going to come in here and just, give us the game. So we got to compete every night. That's the hard thing about the RMAC. Everybody can beat everybody on a given night.
And the team rode a 5-game win streak recently into the new year against conference opponents. How did the team achieve success during this period?
Right now, I wouldn't say we've clicked fully on the season with the 8-5 record. I would assume we should have probably, we've had big leads in every game or had opportunities to win games where once we get kind of faced with adversity, we have not handled adversity during games very well. So that's probably why we have an 8-5 record. And then we have the talent and the ability, we just have to keep on coming together as a team to compete when we face adversity. Just because, you get to the national tournament, there's always going to be guys that are good, they make plays, and you kind of have to get stops and make plays yourself.
Now I want to take a short break from the team and single out a few players. Back on December 18th, forward Martin Poznanovich received RMAC Player of the Week honors. During the stretch of games that qualified him for this honor, he shot 77.3% from the field. How do you think he achieved such great success at the basket during those games?
Well, Martin, the one thing, he's a great human being. He's from Serbia. He was, he would get spotty minutes last year. He actually didn't do a great job of finishing last year, so he's built a lot more trust, and just because he comes out and kind of a workhorse type of guy and just keeps working at it day by day. He's not going to be overly flashy as a basketball player, but on the floor, he comes out and competes. He moves his feet well in defense, and just everyone was really happy to see him. That was a nice little Christmas present we got after we had the moratorium, and seeing Martin get that. Just a guy who comes in here and works every day, great in the classroom. He's a 4.0 student with some high-level math classes. I can't even pronounce the math classes he's taken. So happy for him and how he's just keep on competing every day. Got a little back issue right now, so hopefully that doesn't hinder him too much for the season.
Ethan Stray with you for CSC Live, joined by Coach Shane Pabin on the pregame show. Now transitioning to two other great players on the roster in the Patterson and Peterson duo. How valuable are assets like Dalton Peterson and Jalen Patterson to the team and their success?
I mean, both new guys, obviously we brought Dalton in for shooting ability. Another great young man, working hard. We got to get him up to speed just on the Division II defense. And that's this biggest issue right now. But, he's trying to get it done. It's just, the adjustment period, lasts longer for other people. But he's competing on the court. He's a heck of a shooter. I would consider him one of the best shooters in the country. Then Jalen, kind of the same issue, just getting him to compete every day in practice and learn the defensive. That's usually the biggest issue with players when they move up from our level. The scouting, the preparation, the details. JUCO, both guys came from a JUCO, different JUCOs though. They both can score the ball, and Jalen can do it in different areas too. He can kind of score at all three levels, and he can, any night he can go off and get 20 for us.
I want to close with looking ahead at the upcoming home matchups. You mentioned Colorado Mesa, who you'll take on tonight, Friday night. 11-2 record has really been lights out all season. Then you have Westminster coming in on Saturday, who you said will be tough. They hold a 4-9 record so far this season. What can we expect to see from the Eagles in these two matchups?
Well, obviously, we're playing Mesa first, so a lot of our prep, top 15 team in the country. They scored the ball so well. Number 4 for them, Max Rinker, just plays his tail off as he's probably the hardest working player in the conference, at least I've seen, or my opinion. And they share the ball really well. And with that being said, they've shot more threes than twos this season. So they're really going off the analytics side of basketball. And they'll get down by 12, but then, their last game against Highlands, they were down 9 at halftime and only had 27 points, and they scored 67 in the second half. So they push that ball. They have a 10-second shot clock instead of a 30. So they're getting it up, and they move the ball so well. And he's very lucky. The recruiting class he brought in a few years ago has stuck together. They're all basically COVID juniors, and they've got a lot of local talent. They've done well in recruiting. So, and those, 22 Baskins, 11 rinker, and number 11. He walked on at Colorado, came back with his AAU teammates, and you can tell they've played together so much the last 3 to 4 years. So their team is just, they're really comfortable with playing each other because they kind of know what everyone's going to do.
And now for Westminster, coming in with a 4-9 record, you said they'd be challenging, much like some of the other RMAC opponents you faced.
Yeah, he runs the old, Chicago Bulls, Tex Winter triangle stuff. He's old school. They haven't played very well. They haven't won a conference game this year, and this is, as long as they don't win one against us, I don't care. So, they've had some difficulties and some struggles this season, but coach is a heck of a coach. He won a national title as a junior college coach at Salt Lake City. So he's going to have them prepared. Hopefully we just figure it out, after a big win against Mesa, we can come back and just, finish the weekend right.
Thank you for joining us, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming.
Following the competition against Mesa, the Eagles took on the Griffins of Westminster at home as well. This was another good one for the hometown crowd. Shadron led 41-37 at the half. Shadron would cruise in the second half to a nice 80-73 victory and improved to 9-6 overall on their season and 6-3 in conference action. Looking at the scoring leader for Shadron State, that was John Jenkins that would take that spot in this one over the usual Bryce Latimer leadership. 14 total points in this one for John, went 5 for 11 from the field and 6 total rebounds. The Eagles, as a team, 46.7% from the field and 36.4% beyond the arc, while remaining in the high 80% range from the free throw line. And the Eagles took the show back out on the road for that long road trip you heard about with the women's program and would run into some troubles as well against Fort Lewis and Adams State. First up, Shadron faced off against the Fort Lewis Skyhawks. And for Fort Lewis, they were a hot shooting team when the Eagles rolled into town and really put it on display against the Eagles. It was a bit of a sluggish start for Shadron as they would score only 28 points in the first half to the 40 that the Skyhawks would quickly put up on them in the opening 20 minutes of play. The Eagles would pick up the offense in the second half, but it was too little too late and would be outscored in this one with a final of 88-72 in favor of the opposition. Dalton Peterson, Bryce Latimer, the two leaders on offense in this contest. Peterson had 18 points, while Latimer finished just behind him with 17 points. 8 of those I must highlight from the free throw line. Really driving in there, drawing that contact when he goes to the basket, and he's been one of the solid free throw shooters this season, making his way to the free throw line in many of his games that he's participated in. Actually getting quite a lot of opportunities from the free throw line, to be exact, mainly 5 or 6, at least 5 or 6 free throws attempted per game. There's only been a few games where he would have maybe 2 or 4, but really does a good job driving in there and finding his way to the basket for the Eagle offense. Now, the team overall shot decent, but not up to the standards they have held themselves up to earlier in the year. Eagles dropped down to a 38% from the field shooting percentage and 37% beyond the three-point arc, and made 2/3 of their free throw attempts. So a little bit of a drop in that, but that's to be expected when you're having a tough time on offense. So just a tough day overall for the Eagles, and really a tough road trip, as I mentioned. So we'll move to the next game, which is Shadron State, closing the trip with a large loss against another hot offense at the time that they rolled into town, again against the Adams State Grizzlies. Grizzlies would reach triple digits in this one and improve to 5-12 with the victory and 3-8 in conference play, so upsetting the Eagles as the Eagles rolled into town with a better record than Adams State. Shadron, following this one, really pushed them to the limits on the as far as they could drop with their hopes in hosting a postseason game at home with that 4 seed. Again, seeds 1 through 4 are hosting in the RMAC tournament. Now, this in conjunction with the Fort Lewis contest were really a key turning point is if the Eagles really go on a skid now, it could be a challenge to fully recover in the closing stages of the season, and trying to seal that 4 seed spot is a tough challenge in the RMAC conference. Now, it's not all doom and gloom for the Eagles, as they would have to fall to some RMAC opponents who have had some challenging seasons thus far. So, in the RMAC, as you've heard from many coaches, anything can happen, so it's definitely a challenge that the Eagles will have to embrace. It's time now for a quick look ahead at the Eagles' schedule. We'll see where those crucial victories are coming up for the Eagles, as they will face a series of 4 more home games on the season. First will be against the New Mexico Highlands Cowboys, as they'll come to town, who the Eagles battled early in the season, but on the road they fell to New Mexico Highlands in some of the opening games of the season. Then CSU Pueblo rolls into town next after them, and it was a good battle the last time these two teams would meet, as CSC would pull away 84-82 after a Bryce Latimer layup in the closing minute to secure the victory for Chadron. That closes the weekend of the 17th, and then ahead the final home weekend starts on the 23rd against MSU Denver. Again, the Eagles fell in that one. The Roadrunners controlled the Eagles, as you heard earlier, and would in their travels back at the start of the year on the 6th of January. And then for the first time, the Eagles will see Colorado School of Mines, which will be another challenging team that the Eagles will face. And right now, looking at the standings, it is an even split of competition, both ahead of Chadron State in the standings and also behind them. So it really is still anybody's ownership of those final 4 positions in the RMAC standings to host a postseason basketball game, and even to get into the tournament itself. So again, Chadron looks to maintain their position or find a way to climb. They currently sit at that 7 seed at the time of this production. This is Ethan Stray with you, and you're watching the CSC Sports Preview. We just finished up the review for the 2 basketball programs, and now let's take a look at the successes of the men's wrestling program. Then after the recap of the men's progress, we'll take a look at the women's progress as they're nearing their first inaugural RMAC Women's Wrestling Tournament. The men's wrestling team looks to continue their dominance and work towards securing the RMAC men's wrestling title at the end of their dual contest. The dominance showed in the New Year's as the Eagles secured a 51-6 victory in a non-conference duel against York University here at home. The lone defeat for the Eagles in this one that they had suffered was the pin of Mason Watt. That's how the York Panthers were able to get those 6 points on the board instead of being shut out to the Eagles. Now, Chadron State then hosted another duel. This was a conference duel against New Mexico Highlands here at home. This was another dominant showing for the Eagles, scoring 28 straight points to down the Cowboys in this one. So let's start the recap in this one. The 133-pound weight class for CSC is where it started the string of 7 straight victories on the night. Number 2, nationally ranked Quinn Campbell, redshirt senior from Trifton, Georgia, defeated his opponent with a 17-4 major decision to improve to 11-1 on the season. And then next up, the number 17th nationally ranked Ethan Leak and Joseph Mistiano faced off on the mat from New Mexico Highlands. Leak, a redshirt senior from Clovis, California, chose the bottom to begin the 3rd period and scored the final point of the match with a nice escape to win 7-4 in his match. The only tech fall that counted towards team points was scored by Tori Early in the 149-pound weight class. Early is a senior from Oak Park, Illinois, won 15-0 in that tech fall decision in just a minute and 45 seconds to add to his team record for tech falls in a season. At 157 pounds, Clayton Robinson was the wrestler for Chadron State. He's a redshirt freshman from Johnston, Colorado. He won by a 10-7 decision in this one. Then Josiah Whaley took to the mat for the Eagles, scored 7 first-period points on his way to a 12-2 major decision at the 165-pound weight class before Logan Berger receiving a forfeit victory at the 174-pound weight class. The Eagles' 7th consecutive victory occurred at the 184-pound weight class. That was Keegan Gelhausen, who scored a takedown and an escape to win a narrow one, 4-2, on the evening. Against the Ore Diggers, it was a low-scoring one, but definitely a good show for a Friday night crowd at the Nelson Physical Activity Center. Chadron State was victorious at the 125-pound weight class, 133-pound, 141, 174, 184, and 285 for the weight classes to improve their record to 4-1 overall and 2-0 in conference duels. The Ore Diggers dropped to 4-2 overall and 2-2 in conference duels after the loss to Chadron State. Some of the notable matches were Gelhausen in this one, the redshirt sophomore in the 184-pound weight class wrestling for Chadron State. He gained an early 11-3 lead at the end of his second period of his match. His opponent, Mason Dial, scored 7 straight third period points to lower the deficit to 11-10, but was unable to overcome Gelhausen's early success and that lead that he had built in the first 2 periods of the match. The match ended in thrilling fashion for Chadron State fans on hand, as Mason Watt in the 285-pound weight class secured a swift pin in 4 minutes and 45 seconds to close the match out and raise the team score for Chadron. The Eagles, again, over top of the Ore Diggers in Chadron in the duel. The women's wrestling team also opened up 2024 with a win at home in their duel against the York Panthers as well. They would secure a 41-5 win against UNK. Only 6 matches were wrestled in the duel, but CSC was victorious in all of them. The Eagles received the forfeit victories at the 123-pound, 155, and 170-pound weight classes, while the Panthers' 5 team points were scored via a forfeit at the 136-pound weight class. Then the Eagles traveled for 2 duels, one against Dakota Wesleyan University and one against Minot State. Chadron State would secure strong victories in both 35-5 against Dakota Wesleyan and 37-10 over Minot State. CSC's victory came 34-15 over Pacific University, as well as they took them on the road in dual fashion. In the next episode, we'll take a look at the Eagles' performance at the inaugural RMAC Championships for the women's wrestling program. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for CSC events here on campus. It will be covered by CSC Live. It'll be a lot of basketball action. Basketball versus New Mexico Highlands here at home, 5:30 p.m. tip-off on February 16th. And then the following night, basketball against the Thunderwolves as they come to town. Again, another 5:30 tip-off for the women's game. Men's to follow afterwards. That's on February 17th here at the Chicoine Center on the beautiful campus of Chadron State College. And then the following weekend, basketball against the Roadrunners as they come to town. That tip-off is scheduled for 5:30 as well on February 23rd. And then Colorado School of Mines comes to town with the same tip-off time, 5:30 p.m., on February 24th. Again, you can watch the events on CSC Live, found at the web address of chadronstate.tv. For more news, stats, schedules, and more, be sure to visit the athletics page at chadroneagles.com. This has been the CSC Sports Preview with your host, Ethan Stray. So long.